Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Holly Hour. Brought to you by Posh Boutique at the Bridges at 57th, The Sky in Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Jesse Moffitt Entertainment, and Sonny's Pizzeria. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment conversations. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Welcome, Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment lovers. Coming up, we meet a man of many talents. Actually, a many talents. Immanuel Bassey, a singer, plays sax, and now has acting on the resume. Plus, he's one of the best-dressed guys in town. Then later in the show, we talk filmmaking with Sean Baker. Despite his youth, he has an amazing maturity for bringing stories to life. Plus, we'll tell you who or what gets this week's honorable mention, as well as choose another winner of Pizza with a Podcaster. But first, let's pop the cork on this bubbly little show.
Time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day and your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party.
Lift 'em high no matter what it might be that you are drinking, no matter what you're drinking it out of, no matter what time you happen to be drinking it. Lift it high and salute all the behind-the-scenes people that it takes to make a production go smoothly. I was witness to it this past weekend. I happened to be in the premieres that was put on at the Belvis Theater. Belvis, a beautiful little theater, by the way, and the backstage, there's so much more to it and what takes place on the wings, etc., up at the tech booth, and it's just amazing how it all comes together, all for your benefit, so you can enjoy a great production. So, Weekend Eve toast to all the behind-the-scenes people in a production. Weekend Eve toast brought to you by The Sky in Tea. The Sky provides all-caps fun. That is best had with friends. Have fun playing darts, shooting pool, have fun listening to great live music from local musicians, or have fun singing at karaoke. You can be the local and live musicians then. Have fun testing your knowledge at trivia. Maybe you need more room to hold a company party, hold a benefit. Well, the Sky's big back room fits the bill. No matter what's going on at the Sky, it's local and it's lively. It's time to choose a lucky winner of Pizza with a Podcaster. Everyone that follows the Dave Holly Hour on Facebook or Instagram automatically entered to win a free pizza from Sonny's Pizzeria. We pick a winner each week. This week we say congratulations to Sadie Swear. We'll be in touch with you, Sadie, to get you all set up with some jowl-dropping, show-stopping, thin-crust pizza. Pizza with a Podcaster, brought to you by Sonny's Pizzeria, right across from USF at 26th and Waltz, and Sonny's at 81 on South Phillips. Check out the very fun and incredibly flavorful menu online, sonnyspizzeria.com. Honorable mention. So what was it this week that made me smile, made me laugh, made me cry? Yeah, but to tears of joy, you know. Well, it's to the originals. Okay, last week we talked original jazz music. Next week, we're going to talk original music again, but of a different genre. In fact, a blend of genres, really. But this past weekend, the premieres took place. 2 original one-act plays written by local playwrights. Broadly Speaking and Other BS, written by Nancy Tapkin, Beth Olson, Julie Haddock-Sauer, Jill Johnson, and Sue Martins. Very funny, yet poignant. Then Mo Hurley wrote The Theater at Night. Very beautiful look at how grief is dealt with individually. Last week, as mentioned, original jazz. Next week, original blend of genres of music. So, honorable mention to all the original works. And, of course, visual artists have a lock on that, don't they? Later in the show, we talk filmmaking with Sean Baker. Coming up next, musician, singer, actor Immanuel Bassey on the Dave Holly Hour.
Helping women feel empowered and confident is what Posh Boutique at the Bridges at 57th does, while supplying high-quality clothing that fits your lifestyle, personality, and price point. Whether you want comfy and cozy, casual attire, or something for a special occasion, Posh provides quality, selection, and value. They carry sizes extra small to 3X and have something appropriate for any age. Feel empowered and get confident. Posh Boutique at the Bridges at 57th.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Tooney know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at XO Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation, 605-332-9235 or exokairos.com. Excellent care for excellent people. XO Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
Support the Dave Holly Hour in a very easy way. Buy Dave a cup of coffee by clicking the cup in the lower left corner of www.davehollyhour.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh, you know what I love to say at the beginning of every conversation. It is such a pleasure to talk Sioux Empire arts and entertainment, and it's even more of a pleasure anytime I get a new guest. And this is a young man that I have just recently met, but so thankful to get him on the show because we're sitting there at a rehearsal for a play one night, and he starts talking about different people and find out that, in what used to be an old Rolodex, on his phone now, he has names like Flo Rida as personal friends. But this man is becoming a personal friend of me. Immanuel Bassey, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You're
I appreciate it.
very welcome. Thank you for taking some time to be on this. And, I always like to say it's going to be actor or it's going to be a singer or it's a singer-songwriter, something like that. You get more slashes, though. Actor, singer, musician. What got you interested in being in the arts?
Honestly, I just know that my dad has always been into singing.
Mm-hmm.
And so from early on, I just remember a guitar and my dad playing a guitar and always hearing music throughout the house, even when I grew up in my home country. In fact, I have a scar on my eyebrow from when I was, I believe, 1 or 2 years old, trying to play with the guitar, and then it fell on me.
Oh my!
And cut me open. But yeah, so I mean, I just love arts and entertainment. Yeah.
So, what is your home country?
I was born in Nigeria.
Okay.
I was born in Jos, Nigeria.
And how long have you been in the U.S.?
So I'll just give you a brief rundown of my history. I was born there. I was there till I was, I believe, 4 years old, and then I lived in England for about 6.5 years, and then I came to the States in '91.
Okay.
So I've been to that's what's moved me around to the U.S. But I moved to Sioux Falls, I'd say about 2003.
Okay.
And so off and on, I've been here for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How have I never run into you? With all the talent that you have, how have I not seen you play somewhere or be doing something?
Just timing, I guess.
Yeah,
You could have
it's funny
seen
how
me.
that all, but it's also that great story about how arts and entertainment works, especially in the theater, is the fact that people become family very quickly. And each different project you're in and so forth, that family continues to grow.
True.
And that's such a fun part of it. So you have just because we're recording this while we're actually still in rehearsals, but by
Yes,
the
we are.
time this particular podcast comes out, we will have had our performances in the theater at night.
Correct.
And you play the part of a singer in that. And so is that one of those things that it was like, well, I might as well try for this because it's going to come naturally?
That was part of it, but I think the initial I have to full disclosure. I was given an acting gig, which I was trying to understand how to accept.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand it because I've never actually done acting, like full on acting, and so I had to reach out to Robin, who's a playwright, and he, back and forth from England and here in Sioux Falls, and so he was kind of showing me the ropes on how to be official in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. So I had to take on a role in the community, in the theater. So I chose to audition, and everything worked. It came full circle to where we are now.
Yeah, it's excellent. I'm so happy for it. All right. So musically then, that was the first part. Dad playing the guitar falling on your melon, and all sorts of fun stuff. What was it that drew you to be a performer then? Not just enjoy music and play it, but to actually get out and want to perform for other people.
Well, I know when I was in what they would call primary school or
Elementary school?
yeah,
here? Okay.
yeah, in England, I had done some plays, and I remember the first one I'd ever been in was The Wizard of Oz, and it was an interesting production, and I loved being going into a character,
Mm-hmm.
because I had watched that movie a few times, and so it was something that I could relate to, that I was immersed in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was probably my first experience of understanding perspective. And so it's a really cool form factor when you're performing, because you're feeling emotion of trying to perform for somebody else, but you're also trying to stay true to what you recollect,
Right.
Is the true form of the thing that you're interpreting. So just from then, I mean, I've loved, I actually, well, it was weird. Fun fact too, when I was young, I did ballet. So, yeah. And so,
Because you have the physique to do that. Excuse me, whereas I do not.
I like to try and stay in shape. So, but yeah, so, it was just fun. I like to do different things. Anything that gets, I guess, juices flowing and, gives you vigor.
Yeah.
I love to try new things.
All right. So in The Wizard of Oz, what role did you have?
I was the Tin Man.
Oh,
Yes.
I love the Tin Man.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a great song by a group called America that they recorded back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the lines is, God never gave anything to the Tin Man that he didn't already have.
Mm.
And I've always loved that lyric. And so when you brought up the fact you were Tin Man, it's like, oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
I love that part. And so you've also been, in music a lot, and you play saxophone.
Yeah.
As one of your instruments, right? You're
Yes.
also on the keys, and obviously started with guitar.
Well, honestly, I started with the keyboard,
Okay.
and it was just in the house, and so like I started, just fiddling around with it, and then I just understood that was a good place to start your knowledge base, because it helps with your creativity of what you're of certain things that you're trying to I guess put together in terms
Right.
of music. And but then I think formally I started dabbling into music when I was in middle school. No, I'd say fifth grade. Fifth grade, yeah. Is that middle school?
Depends on what school you go to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Some of them call it middle. Yeah.
That was upstate New York. So I started off in band, and I started off, I wanted to play saxophone. And so it was a ill experience for my parents because I was relegated to the basement because of my squeaks and everything. So but I had to learn. That was the first thing that I got into. And in band, obviously, that's when I started obviously reading music and getting into drums, doing drums, and sometimes I would do stuff for the drum, the percussion department,
right?
And then I just started experimenting with different things.
Well, the piano experience obviously helped you when it came to the percussion then, because I don't know if it is anymore, but it was almost a requisite that if you were going to be in percussion, you had to have piano background. So that obviously was a great help to you.
True.
So how long before the parents said, okay, he's gotten good enough playing the saxophone, we can let him back up to the main floor?
I'd say it took about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, before I was able to control sound. And that's the thing. It's another thing. I feel that I've always been in closed spaces, so in doing so, I have a very good control of my lungs, and my sound. So, and I think that's probably what's unique for me in saxophone.
Right. Now, when I think saxophone, I think jazz because I'm a big jazz lover. What is your forte in saxophone then? What do you prefer to play?
I am the lover of all music.
God bless you.
So, in moderation. Country sometimes gets to me, but I still can take some country. But I just like traditional orchestra music.
Really?
And the reason why I do is because it reminds me of savants like Bach, Mozart, Chopin, just different people of periods. And maybe it's just because I grew up in England. So British things or European things, it just gives me different flavors of music.
Right.
And then I just add things that are me and myself. And so I was always a rebel in band. I know that I would be bending notes when I'm supposed to be just playing true. And so I remember the band director was saying that maybe I needed to get into jazz band and other stuff.
Because of the improvisation that you'd be able to do.
Because I started just doing things myself, and obviously you're not supposed to. And so that's how it just kind of made me broaden my perspective to other forms of music for saxophone. And so I like jazz. I like soul. I like funk. I like blues. And in doing so, I started realizing that you can still go back to classical. And so that's why I feel that I try to layer my saxophone on all kinds of music, because I just feel that it is an emotional instrument, and I like it because it's very versatile.
Which sax do you play? Tenor, alto?
Mostly alto.
Mostly alto. Okay.
Yeah. That is my main staple, is alto sax.
All right. If somebody says, all right, Immanuel, we want to hear some saxophone, just let go. What are you hitting? What is it? Just going to be all improvised, or do you have a bass back there that you're going, okay, this song is going to let me start and I can create beyond everything else?
That would be a weird question for someone to ask me, because if someone did do that, it would just be straight improv, because I wouldn't know what to play. I have so many things that come to mind, but I wouldn't really know what to play. So I would probably do scales, and then just run it into, a progression of key notes.
Yeah.
That's really what I would do if I was doing that.
So you mentioned improv in terms of music, and then also the fact that we had mentioned it earlier because you were talking about being a bit of a rebel in band and so forth. That's a really unique gift. When you've been taught how to read music and so forth, and then all of a sudden it comes time to just be on your own and be creative. Do you feel yourself get into like a zone or anything when that happens?
Yeah, it's crazy because I close my eyes, and it's like feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but a saxophone to me is vibration, and I feel that vibration is energy, and so you're absorbing energy and you're giving energy at the same time. And while I'm doing so, I'm also feeling the resonance of my saxophone, the vibration. I have a very bright saxophone, the color of it. The tone. And so I just like to project that. I want to give the best of myself and the instrument itself to people.
All right. So you said you have a bright saxophone. Does that mean you only have one?
I have one unique saxophone.
Okay.
Yes. I had a soprano, but an unfortunate event, and I do not have it at this time right now. So I'll probably get another one in a few weeks.
Anytime that I have, especially a guitarist on the show, it's like, okay, how many do you really have, and how many are you going to admit, just in case your spouse is listening? So just one, and it does it all, huh?
Yeah, one that this one is very treasured for me, just because my parents bought it for me when I was in high school.
Wow!
And it was an investment for them.
Yeah,
because they felt that I had mastered enough to where they felt that this is something that I'd want to do for a long period of time. And I got it in private school. I was in private school in Covenant Christian. That was a high school I went to in Indiana.
Okay.
And I remember the other kid who had a saxophone. He had a really cool one. It was black and gold. And I was like, I really want a cool saxophone, but I want something different. And so, yeah, my parents, we went to Milwaukee. And got a Milwaukee sax.
Oh, wow.
And it's a unique, one-of-a-kind color. It looks like rose gold. And how they achieved the color is they dipped it in acid, and then they shocked the acid to a specific frequency, and then that's how the color comes about.
Very
And that's
cool.
what makes it a bright instrument.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had that saxophone for many years. Wow, I'm trying to think. Wow, at least 24 years.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Man,
I'd say about 24
that's very
years.
cool. Yeah. What do you enjoy about the saxophone as the instrument? You mentioned the vibration and energy and so forth, but obviously there's a point where you pick that up and you start wailing on it, and there's this great feeling. What is it that makes you go, I chose the right instrument?
The bending, like, it's almost like crying. Like, it's emotion. So like, if you start from one note, but then you slowly progress to another note, and it's so gradual that it's like a whale. And that's probably the best part of transition for a sax for me. Obviously there are other instruments that can get that effect, and that's why I can't say that saxophone is the best instrument in the world. I mean, another one that tugs strings would be violin, and violin is a very beautiful instrument. So I mean, I don't know how to play that. I do know how to play a few instruments. I can play guitar, bass guitar, drums, and saxophone.
And keys.
And keyboard. Yep, and keyboard. Yep. And I can sing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you've got a pretty good resume on that, then. That's for sure. Speaking of, let's see. Have you ever played with any big names?
Yeah, I've played with I've dabbled with a few big names. Yeah. Flow Fusion. So Florida's band. Kid Ink. I went on tour with Kid Ink.
Okay.
Or I was on tour for the Kid Ink tour. and I played there with them. I'm trying to think of who else. I played with different people.
Well,
I played with
flow?
DeVito.
Okay.
I've played with just a lot of here locally. I played with Vani
Okay.
Hariri.
Yeah.
And so I'm a part of the Knights Tempo. So we've done stuff at the Levitt.
Okay.
And opened for the Denny Sanford Center when it was built. Things like that.
Yeah. Well, you seem to be a very humble man, because didn't you say that you had played for Flo Rida, or when he's in the area or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that was that was a few months ago.
Yeah.
I want to say October. I think it was around the middle to end of October. I was at the country club.
There's some cool stuff that goes on, and that's always what's great. But still, I love the fact that you said locally, that you brought that up, because this show is about, local talent and so forth. And it's great when we find out that the local talent has been able to be around the world, or it's been able to have some really neat gigs and so forth. What's the gig you're looking for?
I just want to be embraced by everybody. So, I just want to be able to have a chance to play with any artist that strikes a chord, and like maybe it's a song or something that speaks to me. I would love to be able to just go off and do a brief tour. I don't like to do long tours because I feel like I'm too old for that. But a brief tour or something, maybe 4 or 5 days a week or something like that. But I love music. I love song. Sometimes I like music without words. I mean, I think music itself is a universal language, and it doesn't actually need words.
True. I'm a big fan of instrumental music, especially being a fan of jazz. But I also go to that other side of the coin where that famous phrase is, when you're happy, you hear the music. When you're sad, you hear the lyrics. Yeah, and I have become more appreciative of great songwriting over the past few years, and I'm happy I have. But by the same token, when I sit here in the studio and I'm mixing some stuff or working on another project, and I've got a chance to listen to music, it's quite often like Joe Sample. Give me some, jazz of all time frames and so forth. Yeah. And so I really do enjoy that. But I'm enjoying the fact that you are here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And again, I'm so surprised that I've never crossed paths with you before. But there was somebody else the other day, too, that I just recently have become friends with. And we were like, how did we not meet, like 20 years ago? But so I'm glad that this is the beginning of the next 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That'll be fun. So you've just done some acting then, being in a night, or the theater at night. And what have you thought about, continuing with acting then?
So in terms of theater is fun, but it is not the same type of acting as like movie acting. And that's honestly what I want to get into. Theater acting is it's exaggerated to give off an effect to the audience. And so I see that piece, and that's why there's highs, there's lows, and it's very expressive, and that I understand. However, I'm a subdued person, so so I would rather just kind of go into acting.
Well, the one thing about live theater is you also have to be over exaggerating so that the person in the back row can catch what you're doing too.
Yeah.
So I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe there should be some films coming up because we do have a growing film community
Oh, wow.
in town too. It's amazing. I grew up just 45 miles from here, and this was the big city to come to. When I started coming to Sioux Falls, it was about 60 to 80,000, somewhere in there. And, now we're over 200,000.
Yes, we are.
And one of the great things has been watching the arts grow in this community, and in some ways almost exponentially, because I remember, about all you had was you could go to the Coliseum and catch the symphony. And then there'd be concerts that would come to the arena.
Okay.
And beyond that, if whatever art there was, it wasn't known beyond the city of Sioux Falls. And, now here we've got the Washington Pavilion, the Denny Sanford. We have the Orpheum for the Premier Playhouse. We have little bookshops. We have little venues where people put on plays. And it's just been so great to watch that grow and watch the music grow, because a friend of mine was saying one time, says, in the summertime on a Friday or a Saturday night, he said, you could walk from Kello TV down to the Levitt, and you would have about 9 opportunities for food, half a dozen opportunities for drinks, and probably catch 20 different acts on the street before you got to the Levitt for a big act as well. And I thought, man, that's a great thing. Plus, now there's art that gets shown in restaurants and at bars and coffee shops. And so it's just fun in that way. And that kind of goes along that time frame of when you said you got to Sioux Falls. And so how have you viewed it in terms of how the growth of the arts has taken place here?
It's transformative. I would say that when I first came to Sioux Falls, I was very depressed because it didn't seem like a city to me at all. I'm used to bigger cities. And so I just had to accept it. And in doing so, it's very good. This is a business friendly place. I've done well with business ventures. It's a good place to raise kids. I have 2 daughters myself. They're 18 and 17, so they're both actually almost done. A couple months, they'll be completely done with high school. So, but yeah, just there's a lot of variations here, where you could. It's not a perfect community, obviously, but Sioux Falls is growing in the right places, and in arts, that needs to be more realized and recognized here in Sioux Falls. I know I am a part of the Sioux Falls Chamber Music Collective. That's
awesome.
SFCMC.
Yeah.
I'm a board member.
Okay.
I'm actually the treasurer for our organization. And so we're trying to tap into a segment that bridges 2 parts, and that would be music and art. And so with ballet and symphony music, or symphony music and poetry, or all of them combined, we've done multiple acts like that. I know that, I think it was Kelloland and other stuff had featured some of our presentations when we had done an annual fundraiser and things like that. So I love our board. We have dynamic members, and we pull and push on each other. And it's a good way to broaden the perspective of the community in terms of music and arts.
Excellent. Final 2 questions, and sometimes question number 1's answer might mean we don't need the second question, but when you're not part of the arts and entertainment community, what do you like to be entertained by?
Video games.
A gamer.
I'm eternally a gamer, so I do love video games. So yeah, I play PS5, I'm not an Xbox person yet. But yeah, between that and then, even computer games. So I love gaming. Other things. I love sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other hobbies?
All kinds. I mean, I just
All
like
kinds. All right.
specific hobbies. Not so much. I just like to. I like to do a lot of things. I like going outdoors. I like to hike. I like to run. It just depends on the period and what I'm feeling like at the time. I love extreme sports too, or extreme activities. So like I used to do a lot with bicycling, motorcycle riding. I mean, I love.
You love adventures. What you love.
Yes. I have a penchant for adventure.
A penchant for adventure. That could be your tagline. Well, I'm glad that you had, speaking of time, that you had time to be on the show. Thank you so much, Immanuel Bassey. Appreciate it. And best of luck to you in everything that you do.
Appreciate it.
Comedy magician and hypnotist Jesse Moffat's right. He can't play the piano, but he can sure entertain crowds with his amazing magic and clever quips. His shows always make the participants the stars, especially when they've fallen asleep on stage. They've been hypnotized. Are you the party planner in your group? Then you owe it to your group to make the event magical, even if it puts you to sleep. Here's how.
For booking information, go to Jesse Moffat Entertainment on Facebook. That's JESSEMOFFITT. Or call 605-929-0964.
Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony provide professional care for your hands and feet, whether you just want the basics or an extra special look with added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails. Call for an appointment. 605-334-1463.
And now, more of the Dave Holly Hour.
Welcome back, everybody. You know what I love to say, that it is always a pleasure to talk Sioux Empire arts and entertainment. And what's even more fun is when you have a chance meeting with somebody that you've been wanting to have on the show, and you just happen to be having coffee at the same place. And Sean Baker happens to be, well, he was having coffee. Or what were you having? That looked a little bit more than just a regular cup of joe.
Yep, I was having an iced chai latte.
Iced chai. Okay, iced chai in 20-degree temperature outside with about 80 feet of snow. Yeah, but that did it. It's your bag, huh? Sean is a local filmmaker, and a young local filmmaker. Do you hold a record or anything for that? Being like the youngest filmmaker in South Dakota?
I'm afraid not. No, not
really?
yet.
You don't have that, huh?
Nope.
Okay. Well, somewhere along the line it'll happen for you. But how many films have you actually made then?
Oof. Going on like 25.
Wow.
26 films.
That's incredible. And what got you started in this?
Oh, well, when I was about 7 years old, I brought my iPad, my dad's iPad, out to the Schulte Subaru dealership in Sioux Falls, and they were just shopping for cars, having a good time, and I was out there, finding interest around the dealership, just shooting whatever I could, and then I edited a video and, showed it to them a couple days later, and they gave me a $40 paycheck, and that was enough for 7-year-old me too.
You were hooked at that point then.
Yeah, probably, bought some toys, puzzle, Legos.
Or games for your iPad?
Or games for my iPad.
Yeah, all right. What do you buy with the paychecks now?
Oh, more equipment.
Yep. You have gas?
Yeah.
Gear acquisition syndrome?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it. It's a horrible disease, no doubt about it. But I have the feeling some of your stuff might be a little more costly than some of mine. I can get this mixer that I have right here on a marketplace for probably a couple $100 now. Yeah. What are the items that you are looking at? What's on your wish list that Santa Claus might even have a tough time with?
Always looking at lighting. Lenses. I mean, $300 is cheap for me.
Right, yeah.
A bad lens, $600. So I'm looking at stuff that's in the thousands.
Right.
I was at the fairgrounds this this summer, and I was just walking around with my family, and you see these laundry machines for $2,000, and I was like, oh my God, that's a good deal. $2,000 for a laundry machine, that kind of thing. But always looking for stuff to get me more work, make people look better. I mean, that's what gets you back.
And that's important that you say that, because one of the people that you do make look better would happen to be your dad. For those that haven't figured out yet, you are Phil Baker's son, the family entertainer, children's entertainer, and overall great guy. Man, it's been fun to watch because of having known your dad for 20-some years, and to see you growing up and getting into this. It's great that he has a nice little hobby of videography too. Oh, this young man's a professional videographer now. Did you think you'd get to that point?
No, but I've been working at it for 10 years now. I've never really strayed away from wanting to make films.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people sort of, join the film industry around this time, and they're doing it because they think, oh, it's going to be a cool job. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to make millions of dollars. But I mean, I feel like I've definitely developed an emotional attachment to film. I love it for, what it allows me to do as an artist and what it allows me to say as a human. I mean, it allows me to use it as a vehicle to make the change that I feel like I couldn't make in any other way. It lets me sort of speak through my heart in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you've even had something that, the majority of people will never be able to say, is that, they had a premiere of something at the State Theater. And I was there that evening, and boy, what an emotional movie that you made. But also just the fact that to see how you carry yourself as a young professional person, what were you most excited about that night?
Ooh, well, I was just excited to, share Lucy's story. For those who don't know the film, it was called We Love Lucy, and it was about my 8-year-old cousin now. She just turned 8, who has a very, very rare disease called NKH, non-ketotic hyperglycemia, and it's very rare specifically because a lot of the children who do get it end up passing away within the first, couple months or even at birth. There's around 100 children in the entire world with NKH. And so it's a very devastating disease. But the thing about Lucy, now that she's, going on 8.5 years old, is that, I mean, she's surpassed all the odds that were put up against her. I mean, doctors told her she wouldn't live past 6 months. She wouldn't smile. She wouldn't laugh. And now she's doing all of those things. She's eating by mouth now. She's not even eating through a tube. I mean, she started with 100 seizures a day. Now she has, 1 or 2 a week. So it's really an incredible thing. And her story has impacted so many people.
Right. Did you think that was going to happen? Or were you just going, this would be a nice story to tell, and hopefully a few people will recognize it? But it's had a great impact.
Yeah. When I started it, I had absolutely no idea where the story would develop. I mean, I knew Lucy because she's my cousin,
right?
And I knew of her, but I never understood, how incredible and beautiful of a person she is. I mean, you always look at people who have disabilities kind of for what they are on their surface, but you never get to meet them for what they are as a person and what they say about humanity. And that was one of the most impactful things that I learned personally from making the documentary. I learned a lot about, humanity and love and hope, and finding humanity in finding love and being hopeful, specifically because, nothing is going to work out in the easiest and most perfect way possible. And I mean, nobody could possibly understand that more than Lucy and her family, because they've gone through everything, and yet they're still just as happy and they're just as hopeful.
I love the way that you answered that, because the question that I was going to ask was, did you know when you started making films, especially documentary, that you would have to get so scientific in knowledge and being able to, rattle off a disease that easily and talk about those numbers? And so I still want that, for you to answer. But what I loved about what you just said is everything else that came along with it, the humanity and so forth, and, getting into raw emotion then.
Yeah. Well, when I first learned about NKH, I mean, I didn't realize how rare it was. And the thing about a rare disease is that there's very little research and information on it because it is so rare. I mean, a lot of the bigger diseases, they're just as devastating, but there's so many people that there's studies and there's cures even. And I mean, NKH doesn't really have the opportunity to hold any of that because it is so rare, and so
and I'm guessing the medical costs are astronomical, because I know, being a diabetic, what that costs me already a year, but that's peanuts compared to something like this.
Right. I mean, NKH itself, it affects every part of the body. It affects, development of the child. It affects the way that they, respond to stimuli. I mean, they can't express what happens in their brain as well. So, I mean, Lucy could be thinking just as much as any other person, but she can't express it. I mean, she's 8 years old and she's still, in a wheelchair. She's still, she takes medicine by tube every morning, and her parents still have to, do a lot of the things that, we got over as an infant, as a baby. And so that's something that makes it very difficult for me as a filmmaker to study NKH because, there is not a lot of research on it, and there was not a lot for me to go off of. I kind of had to learn from the way it affected Lucy's life, which ultimately allowed me to explain it in a way that became more impactful to her story. Instead of getting into a lot of, the science and the technicalities behind NKH, I was able to, talk about how that affected her life specifically so I could move on and say, that's how she overcame it. This is how her family overcame it, and this is why it's important.
And by the same token, you also had to sit there and be a filmmaker in the meantime. From the technical aspects of it, the lighting and so forth, and transitions, music, what have you. How do you, especially since, being a relative of the subject, how did you put all of that together so that you could box it and still be a filmmaker and still be a cousin and still tell a story?
Yeah, well, I guess that's a good point because I was still in the room with my family, and I still had to be there and be present. But I think that my camera just became part of me. It was like no different than my hand. I was still in that room as a family member, and that's what allowed me to create a story that was still very, very, very personal to me and interpersonal to my family. But it was a task to balance all of those things and figure out, how personal I wanted to make it, because it's still a story that I feel like needs to be told at face value, because it's a very important scientific story, and it's a very, very important story on how, diseases impact a family and their ability to survive, throughout that journey.
What's your next subject?
Oh boy. Well, right now I'm making a short film based on an Edgar Allan Poe story called The Imp of the Perverse.
Yes.
And I'm looking at some other documentary topics right now. I'm looking at this deforestation or this forestation fund down in Brazil right now. They basically bought up a lot of forest just so it can sit. And I'm thinking that would be a really cool story.
Yeah, very much so. Got the travel budget for it?
Working that one out still.
I don't know if Subaru can get you, Subaru make planes?
Well, they don't.
But, and I say that just because, you did get some great things, and it's wonderful when that happens so that young people especially can be involved in the arts and the entertainment. How did you not end up becoming a singer and a guitar player?
I'm still wondering about that one myself. I've all my life just been surrounded with artists and musicians because of my dad, but I think that's one of the things that made me love the arts so much is getting to meet all these amazing humans who are so in touch with that side of them.
We talked a little bit about it, but what I have so enjoyed is watching how you've grown by watching your dad's promotional videos then. Because it's like, okay, here's his son doing this for him. Is he a good boss?
He is a good boss.
Okay. Does they pay well?
Well, no.
That comes out of the, all those years you lived with us, this is what you're... What kind of direction did he give, though? Or did he let you have your own way as an artist?
He lets me have my own way. He does his art, I do my art, and we just, we draw that line, but we work together, and it always works out. Right now we're planning a short series called 5 Days of Fun for the Week of the Young Child, which is where there's a new theme every day, Monday through Friday, and it's like, Music Monday,
right? Tasty
Tuesday. And we're making a short series right now that we can, distribute to daycares, and it's just always nice to work with him. We both we have our own arts, but together we can interweave them, and he helps me, I help him, and it always it strengthens obviously our bond as family. But
right, one of the questions I love to ask of, let's say, a guitarist. Okay, how many guitars do you have at home? How many cameras do you have, Sean?
Oh boy, gosh.
And do you have a favorite, or is that
I do have a favorite camera.
You do? Okay. It's not like picking a child, huh?
It's not like picking a child.
All right. So what is your favorite camera then?
Well,
Let's
my
go with
favorite camera is my Sony A7 III.
Okay.
His name is Cameron. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I love that you name it too. I just
Yeah.
And what is so special about Cameron then? Cameron
is just, I don't know. I've become so close with my camera. I know every in and out of Cameron, and it's no different than knowing the lines on my right hand. I feel like me and my camera are one.
Oh, you're simpatico, huh?
Yes, but I've gone through many cameras because I've improved over the years.
Right.
I mean, I've had to always foster what I've learned and what I'm looking forward to doing next. I'm always looking towards how I can improve as a filmmaker, but also how I can move forward and progress into doing bigger projects and telling more stories and sharing more perspectives. And so I started on an iPad, and then I just work my way up, and that's how it goes.
Well, what I love about, because I've been around you when you've been working as well, and it's not only that you've got a nice camera, but you're doing so many different things because you're also using an iPhone and just capturing so many different angles, and everything just mesmerized me. Because when I was your age, it was by the time I'd hit your age, then I was like, okay, I got to be in radio. But when I was 14, 15, I was going to be a photographer. Had my own dark room. Back when you actually developed film. Yeah, not an iPad. And so that was my big thing. But I'm curious about this, especially since coming from an entertainer's standpoint. Was it an easy sell telling Dad, well, I really need to improve up to this model? Because he probably was one that I really need this guitar versus what I already have. Any tough sell there, or did he take it, okay, I understand?
Well, it was a little bit of a tough sell, but my first camera was bought for me by Mike Schulte from Schulte Subaru, and then my second was an investment from one of my dad's friends. So my dad has always been there to support me and help me, for what's coming next. And so really it wasn't too hard of a sell. I mean, I've definitely tried to pick his pockets a couple times to, get some little, filters and things for my camera, but I've never had a problem, getting that support from him, which is very nice as a filmmaker and a young filmmaker.
Yeah. And so what are some of the things that you're hoping to get yet?
Ooh, that's hard.
To go along with Cameron.
Next, I want a $95,000 cinema camera. I'm looking at... No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I can't afford that right now.
Well, it's still good to dream, though. Dream big.
Yeah. I mean, maybe someday.
What are the dreams for you, then? What is it that you really want to do with this film career?
Yeah. Well, Right now, I've written a lot of screenplays that I just, I can't make. They're feature films. They're long. They're big budget. They're big productions, actors. That kind of thing. So someday I want to, write my own stories and then film them, just direct them. Or, I also love the cinematography aspect.
Right.
So I'm reeling between those two sides of myself. So we'll see.
Who do you admire as a filmmaker?
My favorite filmmaker is, well, obviously I could say, Scorsese, I could say Hitchcock. But right now I think my biggest influence is this director named David Lowery. And I love him as a filmmaker because he does what he wants. I mean, he writes stories and then films them and then goes back to his little house in the forest of Colorado and just, relaxes, writes more. But I love that he does what he wants to do as a filmmaker.
Right.
He loves, adapting literature and telling stories that have a meaning beyond what they say. Their story, a meaning beyond their story, their surface story. And so I think, I'd like to do things like that. I've written a lot of screenplays based on classic literature. I mean, that's definitely an interest of mine. So I feel like someday I just want to, make projects that appeal to me as a person and tell them the best I can and do justice to them.
Well, they always say, write, and in this case that can translate over to film, make, whatever you have as what you know and so forth. So there's a short that's going to be based on Poe. What made you come up with that one?
Well, honestly...
Are you a huge Poe fan in general?
I am I'm a very huge Poe fan. But specifically for The Imp of the Perverse, I went online, I looked at all his short stories, and I said, most popular Poe stories, and then I scrolled all the way to the bottom, and I picked his least popular short film. I wanted to do something that simply hasn't been made into a short film, and so I read this Imp of the Perverse thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is more of an essay than it is a short story, and it was, because when he wrote this short story, I'm going to call it a short story. It's really not. It's more of a psychological essay, but he was being questioned, sort of, for, is this man crazy? Does he know what he's talking about? He's writing these stories about, a man who hid someone in the floorboards of his house. I mean, and so Poe's response was he wrote this very long piece, this essay basically talking about, how the mind of his characters work, how the mind of someone who is perverse, quote unquote, works. And so he called it The Imp of the Perverse. And the imp itself is sort of this impulse to do things specifically because, the perverse mind knows it shouldn't. And the interesting thing about it is that he connects it to every person. I mean, everybody does things because they know they shouldn't do it. Maybe not, or at least they have the temptation to. But most people don't act
more than
on
temptation.
Yeah. And so he wrote this essay, and it's so complicated. These words,
well,
my God.
See, I want you, now that I know this, I want you to make the cask of Amontillado.
I would love to do that. Love to do that. And so near the end of this short story, he wrote the most blunt story. It didn't even have a name for the characters. It was two characters. The murder was his most boring murder yet. No blood, no gore, but he put it in there. And so when I was approaching the adaptation of it for the screen, I mean, I expanded that story. I took the story, expanded it, and then everything that happened in the essay was sort of the mental processes. These are the thoughts that the man is having while he's sort of reeling with this side of himself, where he's telling himself that he shouldn't kill this man, but he does anyways.
Oh, my. Well, we look forward to it.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, and how long do you think it's going to be before you get that produced?
Well, I'm kind of taking my time on it because, it's hard to bring equipment into the house during the winter and whatnot.
True.
But I have probably about a fourth of it filmed right now. And so I'd say probably in a couple months we'll get it out there.
Well, I can't wait. I look forward to that. That is for sure. All right. A couple of standard questions that I like to ask at the end of every conversation. The answer to number one might negate question number two, but when you are not part of the entertainment and arts scene, What do you like to be entertained by?
Oh, well, I love films, of course. I love watching films, TV shows, listening to music, of course. I'm a big classical music guy.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. It's what I listen to when I drive. It's my guilty pleasure. Don't tell any of my friends.
I love it.
I'm
That's
still
great.
cool, I promise.
Yeah. All right. So then any other hobbies?
Yeah. Well, I just love everything art related.
There we go.
Love reading literature and just expanding my portfolio as an artist before I expand my portfolio as a filmmaker, if that makes any sense.
Sure does. All right, man. What a well-spoken young man you are. Sean Baker, thank you so much. Appreciate you taking time to be on the show.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Yep, and we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Helping women feel empowered and confident is what Posh Boutique at the Bridges at 57th does, while supplying high-quality clothing that fits your lifestyle, personality, and price point. Whether you want comfy and cozy, casual attire, or something for a special occasion, Posh provides quality, selection, and value. They carry sizes extra small to 3X and have something appropriate for any age. Feel empowered and get confident. Posh Boutique at the Bridges at 57th.
From the Dipsy Doodle Studios at the world headquarters of Big D Entertainment, a 40-square-foot home studio in the middle of America, it's Dave Holly.
Thanks again to my great guests, Immanuel Bassey and Sean Baker. And of course, thank you. Listening, downloading, sharing, following on social media, and most of all, just your overall support of the show and the nice things that you say when you see me and run into me and we talk about it. Always a pleasure. Like I say, during those conversations too. So it certainly is nice. Appreciate that feedback. Keep it coming. If you have not done so, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. That automatically gets you entered for Pizza with a Podcaster. For all 168 episodes, go online, DaveHollyHour.com. As the Sioux Falls Arts Council says, together we art. As Arts South Dakota says, home is where the art is. As I say, put some art in your heart. Remember, I'm Dave Holly, and for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holly Hour has been brought to you by Posh Boutique, The Sky in Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Jesse Moffitt Entertainment, and Sonny's Pizzeria. If you would like to contribute to the continued success of this podcast, simply buy Dave a cup of coffee. Go to DaveHollyHour.com and look for a coffee cup icon in the lower left. Don't forget to stay up to date on the show on Twitter and Instagram. Follow the Dave Holly Hour on Facebook, and you'll be automatically entered in our Pizza with a Podcaster contest. The Dave Holly Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.